All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode
7
of
Double
A's.
Batteries not included.
included.
Are we 12 now? Batteries not included.
Hot Wheels, eat fresh. Wait.
Eat fresh. Oh my lord.
Ah, wow. What a time. What a time. Yeah, so today's episode, we're going to be discussing reboots, remakes. Are they good? Are they bad? Let's see what's inside.
Let's open up and take a look. Let's pop a look under the hood. This is a very hot, I feel like this is a very hot button topic.
Oh, yeah.
For people that like movies, that like love movies, cinephiles, if you will. Because I think it never fails that I get into an argument about some reboot or remake out there. Because I'll go ahead and spoil it for people. I'm for it. It's one of those where I didn't know for a long time, but then these movies kept coming out and I kept liking them. And I just, I think I just got to a point where I was like, oh, this is going to keep happening and we're going to keep seeing it. So, like, I might as well try to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is fair. Yeah, I'm not going to give away my take on it yet until we get more into the meat and potatoes of the episode. But I think just based off of what you said, I think this could be a very interesting discussion. I think we're going to agree on a lot of points, but I think that we're going to differ in how we feel exactly about remakes and reboots, and depending on the type, I guess. But before getting into that, how's your week? How's it been going? What's going on?
It's been going all right. Work has just been like weird. People like haven't been on the same page. The hours of like when the rushes happen have been weird, and it's been like slow on certain days where it should be very busy, and some days it's busy when it should be very slow, and we're like losing our minds. we're like I don't know what to prepare for anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just been it's been running us down, man. But we're trying. We had a pretty good week this week, and it sort of ended on a high, kind of, but it was a weird high. Basically, our Friday was dead.
Nice. That's odd.
No one, like barely anyone came. Didn't go on a wait at all. And I had one of our new managers up at the front, like being there to help and to like learn about the job. And we talked the whole time. Like it was just one of those days. And I felt bad for the servers because they're not making any money, but for me that gets paid hourly. I was just like, great, it's just a chill day at work.
Right. Just a cool day at the office, let me tell you right now.
Yeah, I went in, it was breezy, I walked out and I was like, great. And then, the weekend happened and now it's like almost over and I'm like, oh, I gotta go back. Great. But on a plus side, I am about to start a new job. I just got accepted for a new position, and it's with an entertainment company that's doing trivia nights. They like go to different locations and are hired by them, and I'll be like an MC trivia jockey.
Nice. I think you're gonna make a really incredible MC. Like, especially if they give you like a DJ booth, like just for a prop, just weep weep weep. The answer is Neptune.
I play it so dry, but I have like yeah, boy, and the answer is B.
It's like Name That Tune meets Jeopardy.
That is a show I need in my life.
Oh.
But I appreciate it. I think it'll be really nice. Our friend Courtney sent me the link, and I was like, yeah, I might as well. And I'm very happy that it worked out. The guy really liked me that I interviewed, and I think it'll be great. It'll be like a few days a week, so it'll just be like another job to pick up some extra cash, and I think it'll be really fun.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Hope it goes well.
Thanks, buddy. Me too. We're gonna start training here soon. We'll see how that goes.
Perfect.
What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, today I decided to put the hair down again because in the past couple podcasts it's been up because I kept looking at myself and I realized I looked like Dimitri from Spider-Man: Far From Home, the one that drove the bus for them. And I'm
Fun.
like, you know what? I that's not the vibe I want to give off right now because that's a very intimidating man, and I don't want to be intimidating.
That's like,
I want to be
yeah.
friendly. I want to welcome you into our home. Um,
So I look like Jesus, and that really puts a soft vibe out there.
I'm exactly the North American depiction of Christ.
I'm the most trusted Caucasian version of your Lord and Savior, and I welcome you with open arms.
But no, exactly. So yeah, I just changed up the look today. I got my reboot and remake shirt on, trying to keep the theme up.
Okay, here we go.
But no, the week's been good. Today, just finished up building a fence for my grandparents' new dog. Well, it's for my grandparents, but their dog is going to use it. Yeah, he's a very energetic dog, and so for him to get his exercise in and out, they have a very big backyard, except it just didn't. They had no reason to have a fence, and so now they have a reason.
Gotcha.
It's been a fun project to build. Like I haven't really built anything in quite a while since the last time I built a set, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
remember those days?
Remember those days, those shop hours?
R.I.P., dude.
But yeah, other than that, so just a little bit of exciting news. I'm not going to reveal too much about it right now, but I did book my first gig through my agency for this upcoming week. I'm going to be filming, which I'm super excited about. We'll get more into, we have a future episode planned of talking about our experience with acting, theater, our education in that side, the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, the bads and goods of just what we know of the industry as the fresh young people getting into it thus far. But it's just very exciting to after a lot of the industry was shut down for the most part in 2020 and a lot of it in 2021, it specifically for like smaller actors like myself. I mean, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood, but as far as small independent projects, so being able to get signed on with my first independent project is like, you know what, cool, this is a cool step in the direction, and it's just something I love to do. So
yeah, dude,
yeah, we'll see what happens.
that's awesome. I'm so happy that happened. I've been trying to get into the agent game for a while, and I still haven't like made that push to do it. But every time I hear about my friends doing it and it working out, I'm like, I'm just being an idiot. I just need to do it. I just need to do it, and then that's the hardest part. Is that's it, and it's just a waiting game.
For sure. Like, I don't think you're being an idiot whatsoever. Like, I think it's definitely intimidating, the idea of of getting representation and like taking that next step forward in like the career that you hope to make of it. I think that is one of the most thus far. I mean, just it was very intimidating to try to do that. Walking into that office and basically pitching yourself as a good asset to this company. That's essentially what it is being an asset to the
a good member. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, you can do anything that you want to do. Thanks, Steve from Blue's Clues.
Thank you, Steve. I think it's just because I haven't done theater in so long that like the idea of basically another audition, that I haven't done an audition in so long, it's just like, I'm getting back into that world, that mindset of that anxiety. But I know that I can like have my friends help me, you, Chris, Beth Ann, other people that could definitely give me some pointers and help me out. So I just need to do it. We'll see what happens. But other than that, your thing, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it big time. I will, as I can talk more about it, we'll see if I can unfold some of it, see just how it's going to go, the story, and all that jazz.
Hell yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's get into the world of remakes, reboots, and I think this is a good follow-up to an episode about a reboot itself, being Scream. So you say you are for reboots, remakes. You like them. You accept it as the world that we're in as far as the entertainment movie industry goes. Do you want to expound on that?
Yeah, it was growing up. Whenever you like start being into movies and you start watching all these things, you gravitate towards your favorites, you start discovering the new stuff that's going on, and then as you're growing older, you're like getting excited for even more movies to come out, the advancements in technology, the new writers, the new directors, not always new actors, but we're working on it. um, so like you just start to notice what's being pumped out there, and I just remember starting to see more remakes come out and like soft reboots of stuff and being like we had this, why are we making more of it if we had this? And then as I got older and started seeing more, there were certain ones that I was like, oh, I actually like this, and could admit that they were able to do something better than the original. I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's better than the original, but it was a new fresh idea in there that I went, I liked that, you know? And so I think ultimately it just came down to if they're going to keep making it regardless. I like seeing movies and taking in new content, so I'm going to go see it. And if it can leave me being surprised and happy with the time that I've had, then like, yeah, keep bringing them on. And I started to think more about that, and I think my reasoning is like it's very rare that you can make the perfect thing in one shot. You know what I'm saying? There are great films. Are films that certain people would say are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But then, there's people that would say those movies are not perfect and that they have ideas of what a perfect movie is. And I think with just this field of content creation, it's always not going to be enough. You know, there's going to be some part of someone somewhere that's like, we could do this better with the advancements that we have, with the new trails that we're blazing. And I kind of commend someone to be like, I'm going to take this thing that is cherished and loved, do my own version of it, and see if they like that also. That's just like crazy to think about and
Oh yeah.
courageous. Now, do we need more original content? Absolutely. But I think for me, it just seems like I, I don't know. Maybe a way to put it is like it seems like a fun experiment. You know, like there's the main goal and the main research that we need to do, but there's also these fun side quests that we can like be a part of and take interest in. So ultimately, I just am like, yeah, they're gonna keep being made, and I want to see new ideas.
For sure. Like I'm definitely on the same page in the sense of technology advancements and having things now that we did not have uh 20, 30. I think 30 is probably the that reboot sweet spot. We're kind of getting into like the 90s now, which would be 30 years ago, I guess. But
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, I totally feel that. And I think where I disagree is I think it depends on what the intent behind the reboot is. I think if it's an artistic choice, sure, go for it. I think if it leaves open a possibility. But if it's something that is a definite unneeded money grab, which is that's a huge thing, I think those are the ones that tend to be the worst ones and the ones that are the most unnecessary. Example, rumor of remaking Back to the Future. I'm sorry, but which Back to the Future is a very dear movie to me, which we'll probably talk about that in a later episode at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think whenever you have a movie, Back to the Future is such a specific concept and a specific type of movie, and the era and the aesthetic of it is what makes it what it is. It's what makes it charming. It's what makes it work. Because I saw the other day somebody said if Back to the Future was made today, the year would be 1992. I'm sorry, but like the charm of 1992 just does not really ring the same sort of feel to me. And then if they were to take it, oh, it's going to be based in the 80s and they're going to go back to the 50s. It's like you're not going to connect with a new audience in that way other than the ones who like Stranger Things and like the older audience, you know? And so whenever you have movies like that are kind of a staple of their time, making a remake or rebooting it just seems unnecessary. Now, if you were to take a movie such as something I am a fan of, I love live action adaptations. Those sort of remakes I am a fan of because I'll get into that story in just a second. But if you wanted to take something that wasn't as popular at one time, because it's happening all the time. There's movies that come out 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they weren't popular when they came out, or they were overshadowed by something more popular. But now they're gaining a sort of popularity. I think giving them their proper chance to shine in a new format would be something like that would be worth watching and worth seeing again. Sure. So yeah, I think that's just where I stand on the idea and the concept of a reboot or remake. As long as it's done with care and good intent, then I think that's when I'm on board. But if it just seems like an unnecessary sort of money grab, then that's where it starts to lose me. Will I watch it? Yes, but
yeah, I think it's so funny that you bring that up. When I did an older podcast, there was an episode where we talked about if we could do a remake or a reboot of something, what would we want to see? And actually, one of my suggestions was Back to the Future. Simply because I love Back to the Future. I adore it. But if there happened to be a remake and it was new and creative enough to work, I think I would love it all over again. Because one idea that I brought up was like, what if this time, let's say it's set in like the 2000s and you go back to the 80s. That's like in that pocket of nostalgic enough, and we're still obsessed with the 80s. Like, we're still making things with 80s vibes, and I thought that could work. And then to push it further, I was like, we saw this Back to the Future trilogy about a white suburban family. What if it was about a different race of family and see it from their point of view? And if that were the case, what if it was still set in the 80s and you go back to the 50s? Well, now you're introducing a whole new a whole new problem to the storyline.
Right.
That would maybe encourage more resolve or encourage more development of plot and character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if it was an instance of that, so I'm agreeing with you. If it had a good intent and a lot of heart into why it was being remade, I'm all for it. But yeah, if they were to make a shitty Back to the Future remake just for money, that'd be atrocious. Because you're not doing any favor to the original at all.
That's fair. I think the important thing is I think it's okay to have a movie of the same sort of name, because then you have something to associate it with. You're basically creating a whole new outlook with that name, because if it was the same story and it was the same character names like Marty and Doc Brown and stuff like that, I think that's where it's like, okay, this is where it's kind of becoming a rewrite as opposed to a reboot. So I think creating another original story with something of the same name, I think I can get behind that more so than just real life retconning in a way,
Fair. Well, if in that case, what are the distinctions between a remake and a reboot?
In my head, which I could be totally wrong, I don't know if this is subjective or not, but a reboot is either taking a storyline that is continued, except you're picking a different starting point for it. Okay. And then you kind of cross into that requel slogan that was in the Scream movie. It's like, this is a sequel, it's an expansion on the story, but it's also a soft reboot because we're starting somewhat fresh instead of going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like whatever.
Gotcha.
Whereas a remake to me feels like you're taking the story, the characters, all the original content that was in the original piece, and you're just putting a new, fresh touch on it.
Gotcha.
An example would be The Lion King, whenever that came out.
Mm-hmm.
It is same story, verbatim, pretty much beat for beat, just with new enhancements in technology. Not going to say a live action remake because it technically wasn't live action, but just a realistic computer generated image remake. It doesn't sound as
it doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Right.
But I've always been a fan. Whether this may be an unpopular opinion, but like these live action remakes we get of these cartoons, I'm a big fan of that because as a kid watching a lot of cartoons, I loved pretending to be inside the world. I loved being inside the world of Pokemon or Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that, or like getting into or like using Scooby-Doo for an example, just bringing your imagination to these things. And whenever you're imagining, you always wonder, what would this look like if it was real? What would it look like in person? And you try to imagine it, and you can, but you would just love to see it in front of you. And so taking those stories and putting a live action spin on it, I think is a big jump in just the graphic evolution that we've undergone in the past however many years of cinema.
For sure.
Which another example is whenever Detective Pikachu came out. A live action Pokemon movie was something I wanted to see my whole life. As a kid, I always dreamed of them making a live action movie because they did it for Dragon Ball Z. Okay, that's an example.
That's one we
that
don't.
I will.
That's actually.
I will reel in every point I just made specifically for that movie and just throw it away. That and the Death Note one, throw it away.
There you go. There you go.
You get into weird territory whenever you try to Americanize anime, so we're just gonna. Which I think that's a whole other thing in itself, but and so whenever Detective Pikachu came out, finally, whenever I was in my 20s, I still was like, this is exciting. This is something I've always wanted to see. And now I get to see it. And it's one of the examples of them actually making a good movie out of a live action adaptation of a pre-existing story and form of media. And so there's definitely, it's definitely not copy paste because there's some really good examples of it and there's some really bad examples of it. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship with it, and it kind of goes back to how much heart and choices in the style that they put into it to make it different.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say, so like a reboot, in my opinion, is something like the new Scream movie, or like the iCarly TV show that just came out. It's its own thing, and it has the same name, but it's it's like a continuation. That's also almost like a requel in a way.
Yeah.
It's a sequel to that, but it's also like rebooting the show. Yeah, I don't know. I think it just gets it gets weird when you're talking about like reboots, because I think for remakes it's just like, oh, this is literally, we're making the same film, just like updating it, like the new West Side that just came out. It is a recreation of the original musical, the original film, but just like with a little twist on it. Speaking of musicals, I would say I think one of my favorite remakes that I've ever seen is the Footloose remake that came out back in like 2010, 2011. Yeah, there was just some kind of charm about it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And the choreography was great.
Oh yeah, choreography was amazing.
I personally didn't have a problem with a lot of the acting in it. I mean, I thought they cast the Wren pretty great. He was very likable. And, Julianne Hough is originally a dancer and comes from, like, Dancing with Stars, but also, like, I thought she did a pretty great job in that film as well. And, like, next to Dennis Quaid, like, doing the preacher, they got Dennis Quaid. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, that would be like a good version of a remake because it like I think it did it justice in a new setting, a little revamp, but like still had the heart that the original one had.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a really good example because there's so much new talent to bring to something like that, and like it's a that's a movie where it seems like the elements make it an easy remake. You know, where
Yeah.
it's like you don't have to really battle a whole lot. Um, yeah, I think that's a really great example. I think another one that came out. Did you ever watch the Lethal Weapon TV show?
No, but I remember seeing it and I was like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah,
Like I get why they would do that.
for sure. And honestly, like I remember watching the Lethal Weapon movie, and it was good. I mean, it came out in the early '80s. The first one did anyway. Solid groundwork for the characters. You learn to really just kind of connect. But I think rebooting a movie into a series has a whole different dynamic you can have with it.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole and I think that's just another like good example of something that is remade to kind of bring new heart to the story. Because they took the same character names, they took the same premise, but then they created their own stories based off of that. You didn't really see any other characters except for uh, Martin Riggs and Murtaugh from the original, except recast as Damon Wayans and
Sean.
Clayne Crawford.
Oh, Clayne Crawford.
Yeah. Oh, there was a whole thing that happened with that show where,
Mhm.
after season 2, Sean William Scott actually ended up going in and playing like a newbie on there, which it was still
a new
good,
character
but
to take over the mantle of
exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there are definitely some. I think that kind of goes back into ones that had like their not so much mistakes, but just something that was popular at one time, and then just trying to reintroduce that to a new audience with new faces and new actors that you know, like you were saying with Julianne Hough and Dennis Quaid, and just really almost like bringing it back to life in a sense.
Mhm. Oh, and what's his name? From Whiplash. Uh, Miles Teller.
Oh, Miles Teller, yeah.
Yeah, he was in that, and I was like, ugh, I love him.
Okay, so what are some examples of remakes or reboots that you enjoy? What's something that this is a great idea? I'm so glad that they're redoing the story. I'm so glad that they're adding on to the story after so long. What was something that actually grabbed it for you?
I mean, like I said, the first one I think that really like made me go, huh, I could get behind reboots slash remakes is the Footloose the Footloose remake. Um, I'm trying to think of if there's like some of them that stand out for me. Oh well, technically, I feel like such a dork because I'm gonna bring up another musical.
That's okay.
Uh, technically, the Hairspray movie is a
Hmm.
remake slash reboot because there
Yeah.
was the original movie in the '80s, and then they wrote the musical about it, and then this is the movie adaptation of that musical.
Hmm.
And I think they nailed it, and in my opinion, it's better than the stage adaptation. I feel like it trimmed a lot of the unnecessary out of the stage adaptation for the movie. But there's that one. Oh, I got one. The new Star Trek movie series.
Ah,
I really love them.
you love them?
The first one came out and I was really hype because I knew of Star Trek, but like I was more into Star Wars, and I knew that like I think my uncle used to watch Star Trek a little bit when he was younger, but I was excited to like learn a little bit about this lore and for it to open up like new avenues for me to learn about. And it came out, and I thought it was great. I feel like it's a very great little pocket of like when it came out, like 2012. That was like a good year for like a new sci-fi film to come out that was like quirky and it had like edgier language and these newer actors in it, and I thought everyone did a great job. Zachary Quinto
Absolutely.
was wonderful. Chris Pine, fantastic. And it was a fun story, and I really enjoyed it. And then the second one came out, Into the Darkness. Oh, I loved that movie. I thought it was a great sequel, and in my opinion, one of the examples of a sequel being better than the original. I really liked Khan. I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch, what he did with it. I do feel like there might be people might have some issues with it because it is a remake of the Wrath of Khan storyline, and they did things differently and yada yada yada. But like, it's, again, to talk my way through it, it's a remake in a different universe. It's sort of tied to the original. They explained that in the first one, but now like things are going to change. So like they laid that out for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to what you were saying, the intent and the purpose behind it, like, this is a sci-fi world that we are dealing with endless possibilities. Like, why wouldn't they try to make something new and creative from it, but also like keeping a same storyline? I thought it worked really well, and I think he's one of the Benedict Cumberbatch portrayed one of the best villains that I've ever seen in like a sci-fi like fantasy movie. And then the third one came out, and I didn't like it as much. But I don't know if it was just like the time and place that I watched it, or not. One of the people I follow on YouTube just did a reaction to all three of those, and I feel like he said he really liked the third one, and I don't remember it at all. But I just, what they were doing, I thought it was working, and they still say they're planning on doing another one. And even Quentin Tarantino. There we go.
Oh.
Totally different. Quentin Tarantino wants to write an R-rated Star Trek film.
Oh.
And I just want it to happen, just to be like, this exists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just 'cause.
Yeah. That.
Like.
Yeah.
I think that's another way I get behind some reboots and remakes, that if it's just bizarre, like the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. I don't like them per se because I hate gross horror, like gruesome Saw stuff.
Oh,
and it was just like things I would describe as dirty. But
so dirty.
It's just, you look at it and you're like, that's grimy as shit. Like, ugh. But like, I appreciate the new spin they had on it, and like he decided to take a more psychological delve into the storyline in that one. And it's like more brutal and scary. And again, it fits in that perfect window of like mid-2000s horror films, you know? And I think, you know, that's another one that I think of just like, it's so new and weird of a remake that I'm like, yeah, sure, it passes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think one that's like not so new, I'm not even saying I necessarily like it. It's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, I'll say it. I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's so weird.
I have a love-hate relationship with Tim Burton. Yeah. My first Tim Burton movie was technically my first Tim Burton movie was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which after seeing and knowing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, whenever that movie came out and I was very young, I remember having a panic attack in the theater because I was freaked out by the Augustus Gloop song. The Oompa Loompas came out, and it was so just like, it's such an overstimulating movie, and I was just so young, and they're like, ooh, bah,
it's like tribal noises.
And I cried in the theater and had to go to the bathroom because I was like freaking out.
You would.
And after,
so
thanks.
That's so funny though. Like,
and after the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, like, that's, of course it's terrifying. Like, yeah, that's very overstimulating.
And it was just, what a heck of a introduction to Tim Burton. And then I see Johnny Depp, and he's like, "I'm Willy Wonka." I'm like,
Good morning,
Wilder? Where are you? Like,
the Earth says hello.
And I'm like, this is, because I loved Willy Wonka, the one from the 1970s, and I was like, yeah, I'm excited to see like this sequel to it, because my impression was that Charlie, because it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I had no idea of the books or anything like that. I thought that this was Charlie all grown up, and there are these new kids coming in while he's the the guy, and I'm like, wow, he really fell off the wagon. Like, what
he
is
didn't
happening?
do well being in that factory for 40 years.
And then he said, I'm Willy Wonka. And it's like, this is Charlie. I'm like, oh, what?
Pardon?
And so I was just I think that was my first really experience with a remake. Was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm just
Did you just get ushered into that theater not knowing what you were going to see and then it just started?
Well, it was one of those where my parents saw previews of it and they were just like, oh, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's basically just like that. And so they just took us to the theater to see it because we expressed interest in it because we loved the original as kids. And then we saw it and it's like...
very different. Not the same at all.
No, not at all. And so... yeah, so that was just I haven't watched it in so many years, and I think that's just another. I think I need to I think I need to address that trauma head on and just rewatch that movie and just see what happens.
Bro, I think so that we could add that to our list of like reactions that we want to do.
Yeah,
because I just I'll probably talk about it at some point on here, so I'll just go ahead and say it. I love Mike Myers, the Cat in the Hat.
Oh God!
I think it fits perfectly into that subgenre of like weird, strange children's movies that came out with a wacky pitch.
It's so funny though.
It's so funny though. That's what I'm saying.
It's in the same it's the same font as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But it's also the reason that the Dr. Seuss company, whatever they are, this is the reason they don't do live actions anymore.
That's the sole reason behind it. And I said, I'll give you more of my money. Thank you.
Like, I would love to see, like, Danny DeVito actually painted orange as the Lorax. Like, I would love to see it. Yeah. So...
that's what I'm saying. I that's what I was going to pay for, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, could you imagine just like a walrus-looking Danny DeVito?
Just a fleshy-looking walrus Danny DeVito.
Looks like fucking Tusk. Oh God, just the horror. Could you imagine? Anyway.
Oh. Yeah, I think one that actually came off well, which we were just talking about this the other day, a great example of a reboot is Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching The Karate Kid for a theater class in high school, and I loved it. I fell in love with it.
Bro,
and then he had us watch the remake of The Karate Kid as well. Yeah. And I remember it being okay. It was fine. Yeah. Yeah. Just the first one was better, like in my opinion.
Nothing against it. Like no harsh words about it. It was just fine. And it's like you had a perfect setup. Jackie Chan.
Exactly.
And Jaden Smith was like, we knew about Will Smith, and we were like, oh, his son's going to be a Karate Kid? Sure.
Nice. And they did the good reboot thing, or remake thing, where they made a whole different story, where it's like instead, like, having him move to this whole different country and meet this guy. And, like, they had different names. And so that was just that was a good example of what to do if you want to make another story like that, because you're going to run into people. If you want to make a story based off of it, you do it, and then you have people saying, oh, it's just a ripoff of The Karate Kid. Oh, it's just a ripoff of this. And so I think that kind of just gets it out of the way of, hey, this is what this story is, but it's different, okay? Just trust us. It's going on. Mm-hmm. But then you have the people saying, oh, they're trying to rewrite, and I'll get into that in a second, but that's something that I don't like about the community of remakes and reboots, so I'll get to that in just a moment. But no, Cobra Kai, it just totally taking the story that we knew of the Karate Kid and flipping it on its head, where the antagonist has now become the main character, the protagonist of this story. And we get to see the life from his perspective, and we get to see the impact that long-term trauma has done to him, and how it led into his own family life kind of falling down around him, and how he's trying to pick himself back up while also facing his own trauma, trying to rewrite some of his own past and trying to do better. And by watching this series, it gouged my interest to go back and rewatch The Karate Kid. I had not seen The Karate Kid 2, and then watch The Karate Kid 3. And I think that is another example of the pros of remakes and reboots, is it has you go back and appreciate the source material that much more.
Yeah, for sure.
And reintroduces it to like a whole new audience as well, going back to what Footloose did.
Yeah. And I think they also do a great job at still putting in moments that tie into the original, whether it's similar character building styles or similar relationships that we've seen, or when they bring back characters and introduce them into the show. I think they're doing a beautiful job at that.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep and what makes it better is like they keep getting better. It's a story that keeps progressing. It doesn't feel like it's gone on for too long. Like this newest season that just came out was fucking phenomenal. And the way it ended, I'm like, what a cliff. I was just like, no, that's okay. I was just like, what a cliffhanger. And you're like, wow, I can't wait for the next season. Like they just keep doing a great job at being like, I can't wait for season whatever to come out. And
it was a great sign.
Commendable.
It was a great sign that they already approved the next season before this season even dropped. I was like, okay, I trust it. I trust whatever's happening in this season. And I think it's been one of the better seasons that they've had.
I was about to say
so far.
I think it was like season 1, great. It got us into the story. Season 2, great. What an ending. What a cliffhanger. Wow. Season 3, we were so excited. It was really good.
Yeah.
But I think it was just like, it feels like on par with season 2, or like maybe a little less than season 2, you know what I'm saying? But then 4 comes back and you're like, oh, yes, this is what I wanted. This was the excitement. So.
And they have so many elements within the show that it feels like you're watching something that was written in the 80s with the show. It has cheesy moments. But when you break it down, it's like this is a show about 2 karate dojos where teenagers are the fighters. Like this is what the show is, you know?
Think about the essence of it.
Yeah, and so it has that. It successfully has like that 1980s cheesy charm, and it works. You don't like cringe at it. It's just like, oh man, I am engaged. I am engulfed in this right now.
Yeah, the writing, the beats, like some of the acting choices that they give for the actor, like it definitely has that 80s film nostalgia with it, which I'm like, it's perfect.
Absolutely. Inject it into my veins.
Inject it.
Eagle Fang. Bite me.
Eagle Fang. Any other ones that you like that you can think of? Because I feel like I feel like there should be more that I like.
Yeah, like you see what I'm saying? Like there's so many, but they're just kind of escaping.
So would the new trilogy of Star Wars movies be a reboot, or are those just sequels?
I would say those are just sequels, just because they were planned ahead of time, I believe.
Okay, and they have episode numbers that are continuations.
Right. Yeah, so we've talked about our favorite remakes and reboots. What remake, reboot, live adaptation? Which ones have you seen that sort of missed the bar? What has missed the bar for you? Unnecessary, made it bad. Ew.
Made it bad. That's my only review. They made it. It's bad. It's not necessarily bad, but the first one that comes to mind that's unnecessary is the Illumination Studios Grinch.
Oh, hard agree. Hard agree on that. Ago.
Did I go see it? Yeah. Did I enjoy myself? Yes. Is it cute? Sure. But we didn't need it, and I'm not gonna watch it over the Jim Carrey one
again.
Ever. Like, it's one of the, like, I could, if someone was like, hey, want to put this on? I've never seen it. I'd be like, yeah, sure, it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be my choice over other Grinch movies. You know what I'm saying?
That is a great example.
Yeah.
I think one for me would have to be, I think I mentioned it earlier, the Death Note live action remake, I guess, or live action adaptation. Well, the live action American adaptation, because they have done live adaptations in Japan, and they have dubbed it and brought it over here. They did like a whole like limited series where they basically just did every single episode in the anime except live action, so that's cool. But the live action adaptation with was it Nat Wolf? That's the star of it. Nat Wolf from the Naked Brothers band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got it.
And it just did not grab me. Like, I watched it originally and I liked it. But then I watched the series. I'd always liked the idea of the series, but I didn't watch the series until I was in college.
Right.
And then I watched the series. I'm just like, wow, this is actually just a good show. Like, it's like, anime or not, this is just a good show. And then I went to go rewatch the movie, and I turned it off. You can't try to tell that whole story in an hour 30. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. And Lakeith Stainfield shined in it.
Right.
Loved him in it. But it just didn't
I don't
grab
understand
me.
why they didn't plan for a sequel. Like, it's Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, if you just... I'm not saying that they would have gotten it. I'm just saying, like, you'd think they'd at least be like, no, we could make this work for a little bit. Not even that. They just, like, wrapped it up in one.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that it just feels like an expensive fan-made thing.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
The best thing that movie gave us was Willem Dafoe voicing for Ryuk. That
Literally.
was the best thing we got.
And even the characterization of Ryuk was off. But, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, you win some, you lose some. But no, that's a great example because everyone was so hyped for it. And then they dropped it, and it was like, oh, I didn't remember ordering this Halloween episode of Degrassi. I don't know what happened. I don't know who told you we need this.
It was the Euphoria before Euphoria. Like, it was...
yeah, exactly. It was a gothic Euphoria.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another that came out. I feel like there's one that came out that infuriated me. Oh! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, you didn't like those?
I couldn't. I tried.
Okay.
I tried. I think I was just very over Michael Bay at that point.
Oh yeah, he did do those, didn't he?
He did, and he he had just released a not great Transformers movie, and then he dropped Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was like, I didn't ask, and it was just very to me, or I'm sorry, to me it just like that. It just feels like I'm watching Michael Bay. It doesn't feel like I'm watching a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
But I did want to like it. And I may try to give it a rewatch.
I think graphic-wise, it looked really nice. Like, I think if you're going to bring crime-fighting Ninja Turtles into live action, other than the mascot costumes that you got in the 80s and 90s, like, those are cool, but...
Yeah.
This was I think it's definitely a like you said, wanting to like it sort of thing. It just had a charm to it, I guess, and it definitely ran its course really quick.
Yeah, because they released the second one, and I heard nothing about the second one.
No, I think it just like premiered on Nickelodeon one day, and it was like, all right, here it is.
Here it is, you have it. And then they're like, speaking of reboots and remakes, they're making 2 more separate remakes or reboots of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're doing an animated one.
Cool.
For something, and it's going to be like a try to reboot Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then Seth Rogen is writing an R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Sure.
That's greenlit and coming out. And I'm just like, I just want to see what that means.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Now that one we have to go see in 4K whenever that comes out.
Oh my god! Are you kidding me? Yeah, that would be so fun.
Like, I want to feel the spit as they gouge, like, just engorge themselves on pizza.
It's just spewing and spraying us. That'd be disgusting. Actually, one that I'm curious to hear your opinions on because of how big of a fan you are of the series. What did you think of Scoob?
I liked the idea of it, because Scooby-Doo, it I think the remakes of Scooby-Doo and all the reboots of Scooby-Doo have just become the reason why it's such a lasting uh, piece of media.
Yeah.
Because you have the OG, it was just amazing, and then they kind of had that slum period going into the late 70s and 80s, and then once the 90s came around and they started coming in with those direct-to-video movies like Cyber Chase, Zombie Island,
Mm.
and Witch's Ghost, just anything of those Alien Invaders, and then the live actions come out, and that's one you expect there to be a reboot or a different take on it every 5 years or so. That's one you
Yeah.
expect it from. So the idea of Scoob, yeah, I like it, and I think it's, I'll say, necessary, just in the case of it's on brand for what Scooby-Doo is.
Okay.
But then the execution of it, of you get into the Hollywood thing of just casting well-known actors in voice acting roles, and it's so tired. It's so tired. And whenever you have well-known and loved voice actors that have been associated with these characters for years, the fact that Zac Efron is the first person to and nothing towards Zac Efron. I mean, he get your bag. You're an actor. You
Yeah.
were with the project, but like just the idea of the studio wanting to go that route as opposed to getting the person that's been voicing Fred since the very beginning. Like he was the first. Zac Efron was the first person to voice Fred, other than other than a pup named Scooby Doo, but that's a whole different take on the series in general.
Yeah.
So that was just an unnecessary element, especially since there's a cartoon on TV that was airing at the same time. So why not get the characters and the voices that we love? Because let's be honest, the market for which Scoob was for, no one made the choice to go see it just because Zac Efron and Amanda Seyfried and Will Forte were voicing in it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a percentage for sure, but I don't think that would have been the make or break of the movie.
No.
Well, I think it was definitely the break of the movie, but
I think it was the problem for sure, but
yeah. So
no, yeah, I'm with you about the celebrity thing. Like I think the part that irks me about it is that it's not a bad idea. Again, it just comes down to the execution of it. When you cast these celebrities, sure, cast them because they're big names and they're going to draw them in, but have them give a performance that is worthy of you casting them in this thing.
Absolutely.
Like the celebrities that were in this film, they just sounded like themselves. They didn't sound like they were putting on any character. They weren't trying to be Fred or Daphne or Velma or Shaggy. They were just being them, and it was like lackluster.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest problem of it, because in theory, I was like, Zac Efron as Fred, obviously he's such a himbo king, and then
yes,
and then Amanda Seyfried as Daphne, I was like, yeah, absolutely, she's definitely that type for sure.
Yeah.
But then they get in there and they're just like dry. And I'm like, ugh, this isn't.
Yeah. I definitely think at a certain point in time, they could have played the live action characters. I mean, like, not over the originals, but I mean,
no,
but... like if they were to reboot Scooby-Doo as a live action, Amanda Seyfried, is it Seyfried or Seyfried?
I say Seyfried, but I don't know.
Okay. Amanda Seyfried as Daphne works. Zac Efron as Fred, it works. Will Forte, debatable for Shaggy.
Debatable.
But yeah, I think it was just something that just missed the mark on something that could have been made better just by not trying to get that A-lister stamp of approval on it, you know? And nothing bad towards the actors that signed on with it. It's just they're great in their own right in the things that they've done so far. Not saying they can't cross over to voice acting. It's just you have to approach it in a different way because it's such a different form of media.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem with the whole film was that it didn't feel like a Scooby-Doo story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get what they were wanting to do, and I get that they're wanting to start their own Hanna-Barbera universe, but just chucking these classic characters in there and having our main group interact with them isn't a Scooby-Doo story to me.
Yeah.
And like I get it. You're wanting to introduce us to these Hanna-Barbera characters that are going to be important, blah, 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 blah. But like, it is 2019 when that came out. Pick a kid off the street and tell me that they know who Blue Falcon is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like Dynamite. Who? They don't know. And so it was like so heavily centered on those characters and that storyline that I was like, where's the Scoob part? Scoob's here. Scooby's here for sure. But like, and you know, and so again, the idea on paper sounds great and fun, but yeah, the execution was just not there. Made me sad.
They should have just made a Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt.
If you want to make a Blue Falcon Dino Mutt movie, make it. You know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't use like Scooby-Doo as like the cheese around the pill you're trying to give the audience. Yeah. Like, you know, it's...
And then don't be like, hey, remember that character from Scoob? He's getting his own movie now. And it's like, you could have done that to begin with.
Yep.
Why did... Yeah. Yeah.
Now, something I will say that I don't like about the audience of remakes and reboots and stuff like that, a phrase I absolutely despise is when people say, you're ruining the original. That doesn't make any sense for me, because the original still exists.
It's there. You can watch it.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like it created a sequel for it that kind of retcons whatever in the original story. That's a whole different thing we can get into. But whenever you decide to, you know what, I'm going to make something that has already been made, and if it's good, great. If it's bad, there's still the original. But you can't just totally write off every single iteration of this story just because one version of it was bad. Correct. You know? So I think that's something we need to move past and mature past, is that just because something's... You can dislike it all you want. You can critique this form.
Right. You can have a preference, for sure.
Yeah. But don't let it ruin your whole ideology and ruin your childhood of something that came out 25 years beforehand.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah. That's actually a great segue into my biggest question of all this is... It, like, if there could be a good remake of something and you would make it that way, what remake/reboot would you do?
This is going to be a controversial
I have a controversial opinion as well.
Not because there are layers of controversy with it, but if there was a way to kind of section it away from the main, this is what it is. I would love to see a remake of Harry Potter.
Dude, I was about to say that.
Are you shit?
No, that's my answer. I've heard for like a few years now that there's a rumor that they are working on a remake of the series somehow, and I feel like HBO is attached to it.
However, the only way I want to see it remade is in a TV show format.
Yes.
A season a book.
Yes!
And actually introduce all these... Look at us. Look at us go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are so many characters. Like, I'm working on the books, and there are so many characters within the books, and it would solve the gripes that people have about the movies. They're great movies. I grew up on the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But with so much material that you missed out on, just because you tried to squeeze it into like a 2 to 2.5 hour story, I get it, but...
Yes.
Make a TV show of it. I prefer TV shows to movies. I'll say that right now.
As it's one of those where lately, with what we've gotten with Disney Plus shows and now with HBO shows like Peacemaker and all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is a very viable option for whatever we're wanting to expand on.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you.
Well, damn, look at us go.
I know. I thought about, so again, it was a part of the episode where I was like, what would I remake? That was Back to the Future was one of my answers, but my biggest answer was Harry Potter, because like I feel like for as many people that are like, I hate remakes and reboots because you're the original and blah, 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 no one has ever been satisfied fully with the Harry Potter movies. You can love them and they can have a big attachment to you and you can have a big attachment to them, but no one is 100% okay with those movies. And I don't think anyone should or would be against a show remake of it. Because, like you're saying, it would give us time to do justice to characters that we didn't even hear from, storylines we didn't even get to talk about. We can do more background dives into individuals as well. And, and also it just sets you up for so many other things. The technological advances that we've had in filmmaking. Think about that. People have I think a lot of people in recent years have done the fan casting of, or like if they do their own like drawings or iterations of these characters, people have cast Hermione Granger as a black actor. Harry Potter would be Persian or Indian or someone not white. And I love that idea of more diversity always. But I think even there's like the talk that the original intention of like Hermione's character specifically is like thinking of a black girl as that role.
Yeah.
And like think about the new wave of like fandom that you're gonna bring out of this.
For sure.
These actors and these characters that people can look up to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm all for it. I think it definitely should happen, and I think it will happen eventually.
Yeah, like if you want to draw with this battle of streaming services now with Disney, because Disney Plus, HBO, because Disney Plus was like the first announcement other than Netflix and HBO or Hulu. But like once Disney Plus came around, it's like HBO Max. Oh, we're gonna do Peacock. We're gonna do Paramount Plus. It's like, oh my God, there's so many things. And so in this war, if you want to win the streaming service war, throw out a Harry Potter reboot.
Yeah.
7 seasons. There you go.
Yeah. Like think about the final battle, dude. Think about how big that could be.
There's a lot of possibility, and like that's such a risky territory though, but I think if done well and done with care, it can happen.
I love that we had the same answer.
That
the exact same thing.
Because when I said controversial, I mean we kind of like, oh yeah, it is controversial, and there's a lot of hoops to be jumped over with fucking J.K. Rowling, fucking fuck her. I'll say it a lot on the podcast. Fuck her.
I will say it proudly.
And if there's a way that they can just like right on past her, full steam ahead. But I know there's going to be a lot of juggling to get through that. And, it's okay to like the story. Fuck off with the writer.
Yeah. And I mean, that happens all the time.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'm sure that there could be a way around it. But also, I think for me, it would depend on the service that decided to do it, because there are certain services that you can tell. I don't know. I feel like certain services have a certain look when they make their things.
Yeah.
That I would at least want it to have the right look.
Yeah. I think HBO Max can probably get that.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Just based off what I've seen from Peacemaker so far. Like, if they were to announce a Harry Potter, on Hulu or something.
Oh, my God, yeah. No.
Not about it.
Exactly.
You can keep that. And
it would look like the CW, and you're like, that's its own thing. We can't.
Yeah.
Please.
But, yeah. And I think with Peacemaker doing as well as it is, I think that, I think we're going to be seeing some higher budget stuff coming soon. I really do.
Yeah. The TV game's being stepped up for sure. And it's only going to be up from here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. I think we covered some pretty good ground in here. I think we reached a lot. Obviously we agreed on a lot of things, especially our last point. Yeah, so I guess just let us know what you think about remakes, reboots. What are your favorites? What are some you like? Meaning the audience, the commenters, the
I'll email you. I'll email you my points after this.
So now that we're kind of closing out, what's something you're watching now? What's something you're watching, listening to, reading?
Funny enough, I'm watching Peacemaker finally. I've seen the first 2 episodes and I have 2 left, or maybe 3 now. because I think a new one came out this week. I'm
Hmm.
watching that. Euphoria just started, so I'm keeping up with that.
Sweet.
And I'm rounding out, funnily enough, rewatching the Harry Potter movies right
Oh
now.
wow.
I watched Deathly Hallows Part 1 last night, and I'm trying to
Oh.
debate if I want to watch Part 2 now or wait until tomorrow, because then it'll be over.
But then you can just restart it again. Like
That's true. I mean, I also need to rewatch the Fantastic Beasts movies. I haven't seen those in a minute.
that's true.
Yeah, and the new trailer just dropped for the new one, so we at least got to revamp for that. What about you? What are you watching?
I'm prepping long-term prep for Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
So I am rewatching with rumor that it's supposed to be like a tribute to all the 2000s Marvel movies. I'm starting a rewatch of those, mainly the X-Men series. I've not seen all of them before, so I'm just starting from the beginning, trucking my way on through because I know there's a lot of speed bumps within this road. But we express our hopes of bringing of not rebooting or remaking X-Men. Just take what you have a young cast, just bring them in. So yeah, working on that, and then watching the Eric Bana Hulk movie, and going back and watching Punisher and Daredevil, just making sure that I have all my ducks in a row, just so I don't make the mistake of not seeing every MCU movie before seeing Endgame. I want to be able to have all the material that I can, just so I am well prepared for whatever's going to happen in Multiverse of Madness.
Gotcha.
So that is the project right now. I think after that, I may start watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
Bro, you haven't?
Yeah. No, one of my friends from my friend from New York, it is her favorite series, and I've heard the most accurate book to movie adaptation form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just strap in, strap on, and get in there.
Heck yeah, dude, that sounds really fun. I haven't watched those in a long time. The last time I watched them, we did a marathon of all the extended editions, and it wore me out. And
That's
I
like
said,
3 days.
That's 12 hours in a day, and I got through all of it. And I was like, I'm good for a little bit.
No.
But I can't wait to hear your thoughts as a newbie.
Sweet.
Coming into it. All right, folks, thanks for joining us on another episode of Double A's.
Batteries not included.
And tune in next time to hear what we got to talk about. Leave comments down below what you'd like to hear us talk about, any topics or opinions that you have on whatever we talk about. We'd love to hear. And yeah, we just want to interact with y'all more. So make sure that you're liking, subscribing, listening, commenting, doing all that jazz. But that is it for us on this week's episode. Till next time.